working with the local church to take the hope of Christ to every student in the United States. This is First Priority. Now here are your hosts, Steve Chirico and Brad Skelling.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the First Priority Podcast. I'm glad you're here, listening in to me and my friend Steve. How are you today, Steve?
I'm good. What is wrong with your voice?
Nothing.
Is that your Sesame Street voice? What is that?
I am articulating so people can hear me. Do you have a problem?
Great.
Yes?
I do not, AI. I do not. Welcome back to the
AI?
podcast.
What's going on?
Welcome back, everybody. We're so glad you're here.
I think that's the meanest thing you've ever said to me.
No, there's plenty more.
I know there's more. There's no doubt about that.
At least I say it to your face.
I know.
It could have been worse.
I know.
Oh, man. So how's your week?
The week is going well.
Good week?
Good week. Yes. Things are moving and shaking. One of the exciting things that we've got coming as far as an announcement goes is that First Priority will be at all the YPS events coming in March and April this spring. Leading a breakout session, being at the booth, networking, rubbing shoulders. We'd love if you are a YPSer, or if you're not, sign up. Look it up online. I don't have the exact website.
I can help you with all that. Well, what I was going to say is, if you're not familiar with Youth Pastor Summit, which is what Brad just quoted, this is a 22-year-old yearly summit that used to just happen in Orlando, Florida. Mm-hmm. We all used to gather down there for it, and now it has expanded to 5 cities. Yep. We've got Nashville, Tennessee, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. We're down in Southern California, and Dallas, Fort Worth. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And then in November, we end up with the National.
Yep, in Orlando.
We've taken a big step, and we've jumped in and said, hey, we want to be at all of them. And so Shane and myself and Chris are all going to, as you said, speaking at Breakouts at it, which is going to be cool. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna make a splash there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool.
If you need to find it, SLU.org. SLUlead, SLULEAD.org will get you there.
There you go. Yep. Sweet.
So, should be fun.
Excited
Hope to see you there.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Our teams are going to be all over it.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In other news.
Okay.
Right? In other news.
Yeah.
I am hearing about club launches all over the country.
Oh, really?
Like, we're still launching clubs.
The school year's still among us.
I'm just saying, it's just so, this is year 2 or 3 where we've experienced that. You know, usually it is a September, January sort of just launch and be done, but we are still launching clubs. In fact, I reached out to a couple teams this week and said, remind me of the 2 that you're finishing and the 5 in the hopper. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And it's not surprising. It's timestamped this February. January was a hard month in the South with this winter storm. Many places did not launch clubs and or had them bumped because of said storms. I heard that on our weekly L10 calls. Yes. Repeat. Had 2 clubs that were supposed to start this week. Had 3 clubs that were supposed to start this week, and they kept getting bumped. So it's no surprise to me that, February, March, I think we're going to see it all the way through again to the end of the school year where, hey, we're just going to pilot 1 month and go for it. But it's a good year. We're going to break some records.
Folks like Jenna and Ryan are going to be launching clubs in April again. Mm-hmm. Silly faces.
Right.
Good night.
Come on, Thompson Station Middle School.
Come on.
Let's go.
Did you just stamp that too?
I did.
Dang.
Let's go, George.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about where we're going with the podcast today.
Where are we going with the podcast today?
Let's talk about Joe Maldonado.
Joe Maldonado.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Not Joey.
No.
Not our friend Joey
Joe.
Maldonado. That's New York.
Yep.
This is South Florida.
Mr. Tennessee Volunteer himself.
Joe Maldonado?
Yes.
No,
he's from East Tennessee.
He's down in South Florida.
He is a volunteer. He bleeds orange, my friend.
You're just lying to people now.
Bleeds orange. Go Vols.
Do you have no shame?
No shame.
Dear goodness. All right, so back to
March
Joe Maldonado.
Madness is coming, my friend.
Back to Joe
Let's
Maldonado.
Go.
Serious stuff, real stuff.
Yeah, he's going to like this part
Joe
of the
spoke at a
conversation.
line.
He did.
What did he talk about?
Tennessee Volunteers.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Well, he talked to me about the Tennessee Volunteers, but his breakout session was about fundraising.
Yes.
Is that what you meant?
I did.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood you.
I did. Mm-hmm. Joe does a great job. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to steal it from him, but he does a great job just really stewarding what he's been given.
Do you know what else Joe did?
What did he do? Please tell.
He and I together, with Chris Lane, bought cowboy boots. That was a great moment at Align.
Thank goodness that Align 2026 is not going to be in Nashville. Thank
I can't wait.
Goodness.
we're buying beach hats and sandals.
We got enough flip-flops from 5 years ago.
Yep.
We can give everybody a pair of flip-flops from the store.
No, those are gone. They're gone.
Oh, I got a couple pairs downstairs.
There you?
Don't you worry. They're still in the bag.
Break them out.
Oh, yeah, they're still in the bag.
Here we go.
Back to Joe.
How many tangents we got today?
Not too many.
Not too many?
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So how about we give Joe a run, let him talk us through it.
Okay.
And we'll come back on the other side.
Sounds good.
Well, if I've had the opportunity to meet you, my name is Joe, and I serve with the Central Florida team. And so it's an honor to be here. And here's what I know. When I stepped into my role as South Florida out of Fort Lauderdale was expanding up the coast, and they made it to Indian River County, and they set their cronies knock on the door. And the only way I knew Chris Lane and the team knew nothing about First Priority is I was doing speakings for Lifeway, spoke at Pompano First Baptist, and I met Chris Lane. And in the process of meeting Chris, he was the chaplain for the Marlins. My good friend was the chaplain for the New York Mets. And I always had baseball players come and speak in a student ministry, and I always brought chaplains in around Florida, so I invited Chris up. Zero to do with First Priority. Now the invitation was to be an area advisor. I think it's area coordinators, maybe a little bit in the chapters, right? And so I get invited to be an area advisor. Never talked about money. And so it was just, this is what we need you to do, right? And so that first year, it was a few handful of schools, but then COVID hit. And we all know how wonderful COVID was for us on campus ministry, right? And then the opportunity to expand to the next county. And so as we stepped into the next county, my primary role that first year was, again, relationship driven. Wasn't a lot on funding. It was about really just getting the ball rolling, right? Well, let's fast forward. Now, 4 years down the pipe, I am 55 clubs, 7 youth ministry networks with anywhere between 60 and 75 youth pastors every month at a lunch table. And we're growing, continue. We just moved into Volusia County, and Volusia County is where Daytona. So my region is now like, it's big, right? And so now we need money. And so here's what I randomly hear, and we know this, Fort Lauderdale has funded this massive project for so long, but there's only so much money in Fort Lauderdale. And so we crossed a bridge about 1.5 years ago to where everyone just started looking at each other and said, look, we're moving, God's opening doors, but we're going to need more help in the funding part of it. So here's what I first heard. Well, I didn't know I signed up to raise money. I thought I was signed up to doing clubs. But I know money and ministry, they go hand in hand. Matter of fact, Chris often says this, is money is ministry. And so I want to share with you right out of the gate, because I think, and I've had lots of conversations with different individuals in the First Priority family, and I know this, it is probably the most stressful path that we work. I mean, working with the campus, working with individuals or mentors or, a principal or a community. I mean, we get that. That's ministry to us. But then there's the development side that I think all of us look at and go, for us to continue to fuel this, there has to be some money. And so I want to say this, and I just had a great conversation with the director out of Tennessee. And we were just talking, and really the heart of what we do has to be led with prayer. So let me just say, even before we begin the conversation, because I really do believe, God, I have a plan, right? I think all of us as leaders, we have a plan. But inside that plan, God is going to establish our steps. And if I get ahead of God, then I can get in trouble, right? And so right out of the gate, I just want to talk about that when we talk about funding the mission, the first thing that I would encourage us to do is this, is we pause and we just seek God. Because it's in His presence that He gives us, first of all, a peace about the obstacle that we have to meet. And then secondly, God opens the doors into the venues. So Chris, I know you're in here, so I'm going to use you a couple of times. One of the things that Chris has laid in front of us, he said this, so first of all, you're never going to get money if you don't ask. Right. So if you just go up and say, hey, nice guy, how you doing? Good to see you, and you walk on, That guy's holding a big checkbook in his pants, and you never know, right? So you have to give an opportunity. But also, I'm not a salesman. I mean, I feel like I can come and I can talk you into a lot of different things, right? But I'm not a salesman, and I don't need to be a salesman. What we need to do is we need to share exactly what God's doing, the stories and the movements that are happening in your community, and it's through the heart of those stories, and then invite individuals that God puts us in front of to the conversation. Now, what I want to do today is I want to give you real quick just a verse of Scripture. And if you want to write this down, Luke 14:28. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? Now, I don't know if you're like me, and honestly, if you're like the founder of South Florida, we're all the time just saying, go, 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 go. How far can we go? How many more schools can we get? But yet in the background, if we don't have the foundation to support the go, then we're setting ourselves up for failure, right? And so for all of us, it means that we're sitting down with a pen, a piece of paper, sitting at a computer, pulling out a laptop, whatever, right? And we're having to stroke and we're having to think about the vision and the direction and the budget that it's going to take to fuel the ministry that we believe God's given us. And so what I want to do, and we can talk about my budget is so small, but I have tried to lead our team in a way that makes sense in a region to where my expenses are really, really cheap. But the excellence that I'm bringing to the table with the way I'm developing my team is as good as any part of our organization. And so we can talk about that, but I'm going to be transparent. I'm just going to share with you my budget for 55 clubs this year. And my salary is built into that budget. So when I look at my area, here's what I want to do. I want to cover everything. And I know Fort Lauderdale, there's a lot of perks. But for my 3 counties, and now in year 4 at 55 schools, I want to cover that with my budget. So I want to walk with you just some ways that I wrote out a plan because I know I need to fund my area now. And then I want to just kind of walk through and have some Q&As, kind of like a little family talk, and go from there. Good enough? All right, here we go. Vision and financial goals. In my region, for 55 clubs, and probably you're going, how in the world could you build a region with 55 clubs, 7 youth ministry networks that we pay for the lunches? We're funneling food once a month on all of these campuses. How could you do a budget of $192,000? I ask myself that sometimes, right? And there are 2 things that I did. Number 1 is this. We say in South Florida, like we've defined who's our customer, and our customer is the church. In other words, the strongest relationships that we want in South Florida is the local church because everything we do is through the local church. Not from a funding position, but from a relationship position. And so what I have done in the structure of my team, and I have a total of 8 now on my team in my area, I have went to my largest churches with the highest capacity youth pastors, the strongest leaders, and through those relationships, I've invited them to be part of the First Priority story. And then I've asked those lead churches if they would consider being a lighthouse for campus ministry in that community. Now, what this has allowed us to do, or allowed me to do inside my budget, instead of hiring a lot of staff with a lot of expenses and a lot of, again, you got healthcare and dental and Social Security and all that stuff, I've been able to take a staff of 7 and an admin, and my entire budget for that is $35,000. They are covering all of my schools with a simple plan that we wrote for them in an area. 3 to 5 hours a week is the time we're asking them for. We are compensating them $100 a campus, and we're able to move the needle, move the ball way down the field in very an inexpensive way. But the first thing that I want us to look at are a couple of little things is 25-26, 55 clubs. It's based on vision. It's based on relationship. And there has to be a clear action path. And then I just want to begin to break that down for you. So the first thing to look at is this. What's the strategy overview? So when I was tasked with, first of all, write your budget. So start at the beginning. I'm pinning the budget, right? And then it was, how am I going to meet the needs or get those funds? And so for me, I've looked at the influence of my local churches and the people on my team, because now across all of my counties, I have the strongest churches that have influence all around my counties. And from there, they know so many more people than if I just had hired a couple of people and they're trying to get to know a community. So the expansion of just, relationship to relationship is already happening, right? And so that's number one. Number two, I think for me, I had to look and I had to say, how can I take the one-time big hit and break it into smaller packages? And so here's a couple of things. I call them director's dinners. And we're going to break this down. But director's dinners, director's lunches, gospel champions, we'll look at it all together, area advisor luncheons, and sponsor a school. So when I look at these basic areas of structure, I've said, okay, if I can just have these micro events and opportunities, but I can scale them with the right people in the right seats, and when I'm focusing on what I'm trying to accomplish, then I should be able to target and hit my budget. So the first thing we want to look at is this. It's called director's dinners. All of you at some point in time, here's what you're going to have. You're going to have probably that end of the year dinner, and you've got a large amount of money that you want to raise. And so for me, we've called those director's dinners. And so my promotional material that went out for my region, it was an evening with First Priority. And I just am inviting, and again, when I looked at the director's dinners, I'm looking for high capacity donors. I'm looking for those individuals that could show up, comfortably write $1,000, $5,000, or a $25,000 check. And I'm not looking to do it on a grand scale. And I made a mistake, and I like to own this, because in year 3, I thought, hey, I'm just going to do a vision night, and I'm going to invite a bunch of people, and I'm going to get a lot of people in the room. And they ate a lot of food, and they gave me 50 cents. I mean, it was horrible, right? And then I said, well, I know what it takes to run South Florida, and it's a multi-million dollars to run us. So then I keep looking back at what Chris has done, and it's all about smaller gatherings and personal relationships. And so I flipped the pendulum back, and even this year, I have found just some very generous people with nice homes on the water that will host 15 to 20 people. And I'm looking at high capacity donors in 2 of my counties. We're not fundraising yet in Volusia, where Daytona is, but in those 2 counties, and that's my focus. So I'm not trying to get 150 people. And what that came out of is through a relationship with CareNet Pregnancy Center, I go to their fundraising banquet, and I walk in, there's 500 people in the room. And they're raising a lot of money, and I'm thinking, yes, I can do this. I know a lot of people. I can invite them to come hear the story, and I can get 300 or 400 people in a room. I've been able to do that my whole life in ministry. So why can't I get those people? And I did. It's just they didn't have the capacity to give. So it cost me a lot of money to run the event, and I realized I missed the target. So a couple of things that's really important when I looked at this, it was personal donor engagement, right, in the strategy overview. But when we get to the dinners, I do 2 dinners a year. I have one in November, and I have one very early December. We've kind of looked and said, if you get anything past the 5th of December, you kind of miss it, because December gets busy for everybody, and you're just not going to get people in the room. So we've moved a lot of our dinners back pre-Thanksgiving to say that's just the right time. We have seen generosity in South Florida closer to the holidays than any other time of the year. So again, if it's not broke, we don't want to fix it, right? And so this year, we're looking at a $2.8 million budget. And we're all trying to contribute to that to make sure that everything is flowing across 9 counties. Here's my audience for these dinners. Business leaders, high capacity donors. And it is less of me speaking, and it's students and mentors and faculty sponsors. I have found that donors are moved when they hear the heart of the people that are living it on the campus and how their lives are being transformed. So who is that student in your community you'd say, I've heard how God has moved in your life. I had the opportunity to sit with a superintendent of Brevard County. It's a Space Coast. And I had a board member sitting there. Now this board member I've asked to come share this story at my dinner. And I'm talking about bridging the gap between principals and pastors. And the superintendent's opening a quarterly faith-based meeting at the district office that he'll attend for pastors all throughout this county. And so it's a big win. It's a big win in communication. But as I'm sitting there, then I have Matt, who is a school board member, and he goes, Dr. Rendell, he goes, 2 weeks ago, you know my daughter's a proclaimed atheist. I didn't know that because he's here supporting First Priority. But he goes, my daughter's a proclaimed atheist. And he goes, 2 weeks ago, she came in and she had a cross necklace on. And I looked at her and I go, hey, what are you thinking? And he goes, and she goes, Dad, there's a club that meets on my campus. It's Satellite High School, a beachside club right near the ocean. And this club's about 140 plus students every week. And she goes, Dad, I've been meeting with this club. And she goes, they're real. And I'm really think there's going to be a different path for me. Now the superintendent's in tears. Here, Matt's trying to get this story out. I'm celebrating. It's one of the greatest stories. But these are the stories that we want to capture because this is real life. Wally David, he's one of my highest capacity donors. And when Wally was first ready to give, because he wanted to give through some outside opportunities to give. So anyway, but he came to me and he said, I'd like to meet first. And here's what he said. He said, look, I'm going to give and I'm going to give generously. And he goes, but I need to know that what I'm giving is making a difference. I spent a lot of time with Wally. Wally, here's my plan. This is what we do and this is where we're going. And here are the stories that we're believing that will come out of it. Now, I could take him back to the last year. Last year, we had over 5,100 students say yes to Jesus with only a 67% report rate. And so I am able to sit before him and say, this is what God's doing. I don't have to go, hey, will you help me? I just need to say, this is what God's doing. Would you join us? I'd love for you to join in our story. And so, but from that relationship and sharing the heart of the story and how God's moving with the high capacity donors, they want to be part of something bigger than what they're living. Does that make sense? And so the first thing I would say is this, director's dinners. I do 2 of those a year. Again, business leaders, high capacity donors. And my goal is this in the 2 dinners. It's $95,000. Now, I know, as I've heard some of your budgets, you have a lot broader budget base to build, but the same structure goes wherever you stroke your pen and how you're working your community, right? The Space Coast, where I want to raise about $60,000 of that, I only have 39 middle school, high schools. Indian River County, there's just 14 middle school, high schools. And Volusia County, and I have Flagler, which has a little 5, but I have 30 middle school, high schools. So that's my region. It's going to get me almost to 100 schools. And so, but right now, $95,000. Second thing is this, director's lunches. When I started First Priority, I weighed 175 pounds. If you live in the FP world too long, you know we eat a lot. As a youth pastor, I ate a lot of pizza. Now I eat just a lot. And I want to do good, but the food is greater than my will and my want, right? Amen? And so here's what I found. There are so many opportunities in one-on-one conversations to just sit, right? But then if I just have a dinner and I let that escape an opportunity to say, hey, would you prayerfully consider partnering with us? And again, we say this, will you partner with us in prayer? Will you join us on campus? I mean, if it's the opportunity with the right people, or could you help us move the needle, right? And so for me, here's what I do with my director's lunches. I find those people that have given $100 or $50 or they've given maybe $250. They're still valuable. And let me just say this. One of the things our Fort Lauderdale office says, who's your top 10 donors? I look at my donors, whether they give $25,000 or they give $10, they all have value. So I communicate to every donor every month, and I just feel like that helps those donors stay engaged regardless of the amount that they've given. And so I think that's extremely important. But what I'll do is I'll go to, here is Sherry Stevens. She works at a State Farm office in Vero Beach, Florida. And I'll say, hey, Sherry, would you, here at Olive Garden, would you invite 5 or 6 of your friends that you think that would love to hear a little bit about First Party? I'm going to buy lunch. I'd love to go to lunch with you, and I'd love just to be able to say, hey, would you prayerfully consider joining us? Now, this is what I call low-hanging fruit, right? Because the average person can give $10 or $25 monthly, and you're going to hear what we call gospel champions. But also in this, when I'm talking to Sherry, I'm also saying, who are those business executives that you work with that could write a $100 check or write a $500 check or $250 check one time? And so for me, when I look at that, I'm trying to raise $10,000 for that. So this is going to be 6 to 8 small relational gatherings. It's going to be based on deepened relationships, get to know people, introduce them to First Priority, connect new partners. And then out of that, I'm looking to say, hey, I just want to help my funding by $10,000. $10,000. The next thing is what we call gospel champions. I'm sure you probably have something like this. Gospel champion is what we've defined in South Florida as a monthly donor. And a monthly donor gets a lot of perks out of Lauderdale. I don't touch a lot of that, but they get the nice little box. You're a gospel champion. You get a t-shirt and a picture of me and a couple other things they get, but I don't. But a gospel champion is that person that says, I want to contribute monthly $10 to $25 or $50. Gospel champion could be a church that says that I want to give. I have multiple churches that give $200 a month or $300 a month, and they've made a decision they want to come on as a monthly. But for me in a gospel champion situation, I'm just looking for those one-off opportunities. I'm looking to build my donor base to 100 individuals to be gospel champions. Now, it's kind of manipulative, but here's what I've done. I've built a really good prayer list, and through that prayer list, I keep them healthily informed once a month, and I'm inviting everyone on that prayer list to join me at $10 a month. Would you join me and be a gospel champion? Will you help us continue to move the needle, right? For me, again, it's that $10 to $50 a month. My goal is to raise $15,000 annually. I'm there with my gospel champions this year. And again, it's simple conversations. I even went to my sister and I go, you can afford $10, just give it up. I went to my son, you can afford $10, put it in there, right? And so I give directive to those that need to be directed, but it really is that low-hanging fruit that you want to ask people, hey, would you join us monthly? And so as a team this summer, we spent a lot of time as a team just focusing on what we call gospel champions. How can we add 50 to 100 people across our team that be part of the conversation that they're just giving a monthly donation, because those monthly donations add up. So for me, and this all comes out, it's $15,000 a month. This is what we call a gospel champion. Next thing real quick, and then I want to have some really good Q&A. I had a church come to me this past week, about a week and a half ago, and they came on board, joined me. It's up in DeLand. It's west of Daytona. They've partnered with us. They're going to DeLand Middle School, University High School, probably will be at DeLand High School. They have the capacity to be multiple campuses. And took the pastor and the youth pastor to lunch, And he said to me, he says, Pastor Joe, he goes, what is this going to cost us? Well, I kind of kidded around. I said $250,000. And I said, well, I was thinking maybe $250,000 if that works for you. Then we laughed. And I said, Pastor, my heart's not to come to, now, and hear me now, Chris may be a little mad on this. My heart's not to come to the local church and seek money. I think there's plenty of money out there to fuel the mission. My heart is to partner with the church, get the church doing ministry on a campus. And what I have seen is through a healthy partnership, when they see the results of what God's doing, then money falls in line through that conversation. And I have found many pastors to respect me on the front side because I'm looking for ministry opportunities and not just their pocketbook right out of the gate. And then I've had those churches that pop up. A couple of years in, here's a church, here's a $10,000 check, here's a $7,000 check, here's a $4,000 check, here's $500 that I see monthly start to come in. And so I begin to see through healthy relationships, and once we start telling those God stories, the church gets excited about it, right? And so for me, what we have defined, it doesn't cover the cost. We all know this, but what we have said is this: you can sponsor a school for $1,200 a month as a church, or $1,200 a year, or $100 a month. So when this pastor asked me that question, I said, well, Pastor, he goes, now, Joe, just tell me, what's it going to cost? And I said, well, if you want, we have a sponsor school program. And I said, it's $1,200 a year or $100 a month. We want to make it easy for a church to get on board and to be on mission with us, to where they don't feel like, hey, we're providing all the power to the school, we're doing A, B, and C for you, and now you're seeking a lot of money. They already pay for most of the pizza anyway, do the basic heart of the ministry. And so here's what he said as a pastor. Right out of the gate, he goes, we're on one campus, we'll get you the $1,200 check, and as we grow, we want to sponsor each school along the way. It just helps move the needle, right? For me, I have 57. I got 3 pending church partners. And here's how I define a partner. A partner is not that they've given me financially. A partner means we're doing ministry together. That we've agreed to mentor a campus, and you're going to step on a campus and you're going to mentor some students, right? And we use the nomenclature as mentor. I think you all use a lot of FP of America uses coaches. And so if they're on campuses with us, we have defined them your partner. And now there's different ways to partner. You could be a prayer partner with us. You can be on campus with us. Or you could be a financial partner with us. Now here's what I know. After 2 or 3 years, and as pastors come into a relationship with me and they see the heart of First Priority, they're the ones asking the questions. I don't have to go ask the church for the money. They're like, how can we support you? Coastline Community Church, if you look them up, one of the largest churches in all of Brevard County, the Space Coast. And they hosted our Celebrate the Win at the end of the year. And I do just a barbecue luncheon for all their staff. Their staff is about 20. And I just do a luncheon for their staff, just to say thank you for opening your doors and allowing us to do this event on your campus. And the pastor got up, he walked out with me and he said, Joe, he goes, how much do you need? And I love those questions because in my mind, I'm going, I need just to go for the juggler, right? That's like, hey, we need a $25,000 check monthly coming out of your, you know. And I said, Pastor, I said, I would just be honored with any amount that you support the ministry with. And he goes, we're going to start $300 a month. That check comes the next month. And he said, I want you to reach out to my executive. And he goes, we'll take care of it. That's what we want to do. But that's the path with the local church. Now, what I am looking for, I want 25 in my region, 25 churches to come on board and to be church partners. And these are people that say, hey, I'm going to give you $100 a month or $1,200 a year. Now, what's great is I look at the metric for me. I've got churches giving 3 and 2, and I've already got up in Volusia. I got the largest church up there. Matter of fact, the Bethel worship team leads in that church, but they're giving $300 a month, and they're all excited. And so, but if I get 25 churches on board with me, sponsoring a school, then that's going to get me to $30,000 in my budget. Pretty much already almost there. and we're just at the end of October, right? And so this is not only going to strengthen the relationship with you as the first priority community leader, but also it put more skin in the game for the local church, right? So now they're praying for us, they're a partner on campus, and they've got some financial into the game. And we do some other structured events at the beginning of the year all around South Florida, which is almost about 450 churches, church partners that we have across all of our regions. We did back to school prayer walks, and we just invited the church to organize a local prayer walk. We provided all the materials and the structure and everything to promote it all. And we had all of these churches sending in all of these wonderful pictures and stories of prayer walks happening on the campus they're sponsoring. And again, it's just that next step of a deeper relationship with the local church, right? To where ultimately you're going to have that lead pastor. I've watched it work time and time again, come back and go, we want to go deeper with you. The next one's a little bit controversial, and I only have a few more minutes. I do want some Q&A. Are they? Okay, perfect. We call this area advisor luncheons. Now, I kind of created the metric on my own. We used to call them fellowship dinners, and I don't like corny things, so I said I'll call them director dinners, an evening with first priority, right? So I just kind of the rebel north of Fort Lauderdale. I'm far enough away. I can seek for forgiveness before I have to ask for it, right? So, but I came up with this idea. My impact in each of my cities is with high capacity youth pastors that are pretty much all in mega churches of 2,500 or more. And so who they know, I have not, I can't even touch that database. So what I've said this year is this. I said, hey, look, in the spring, I'd like to do an area advisor luncheon. I'd like you to invite 15 to 25 people, community business people, or just people you know. Doesn't have to come out of the church, but just who you know in your community. I'm going to give you a $500 bonus to take care of your time for running the event, with the goal that coming out of each one of these things, we want to raise $7,000 a luncheon. That's it. So here's my guy up in Merritt Island, Vieira, Florida, and he goes, oh, Joe, that's going to be easy for camp last year. I had business guys that gave me $35,000, and I'm going, man, I started too low. I should have went just a little bit higher for that, right? But the idea is this. If I spread the conversation across my team, then it's all left on me as a director. I don't know how you've been, but a lot of times I felt as the director, I got to raise all the money. And I'm learning that if I can just leverage some of the conversations with my team in some ways, again, bless them for their time, but again, use the people they know and impact those stories, then it gets us to where, again, moving the needle a lot further down the court. Well, here's what it comes out to be. So remember at the beginning I said that we have to look at the foundation. We have to consider what we're building, right? How we're going to fund it and where we're going to be. So this year I came back to the team. And again, just thinking about my team, my salary for my team is only $35,000. And I feel like they're doing excellence across all of my campuses. And so, but I come back and I say, this is what we need. Well, Fort Lauderdale kind of smirked at it at first. It's like, this, you need $150,000 more to do what you think you're going to do. And I go, I don't think so. I don't think I need more full-time people. I just need high-capacity leaders. And you give them the opportunity to win in smaller volumes. And I said, with more high-capacity leaders across my community, then I have more influence. And so this is how it breaks down. Directors' dinners, directors' lunches, gospel champions we talked about, area advisor lunches, sponsor a school. That brings me to my $192,000. And we looks like we will easily eclipse those monies, and it's not going to be stressful. I'm not doing the big event where I have to have a lot of people. I'm inviting small groups to those dinners. I'm connecting with people I'm already connected with. Will you just invite a few people? Let me just share what God's doing. And really, the heart of our story, if you're a follower of Christ and you have the capacity to join the conversation, there's no selling tool here. It's the heart of our story. But we do have to ask. We do have to ask. And we have to position ourselves in a place to where we are in the front of the right people, and we have to know our audience. I have to know, can you give $10,000? Can you give $25? And so I have to have a little bit of that research on the front side, and then I have to be fair and out front. This is my goal. This is what I'm trying to raise. This is what we need to continue to move forward. Will you prayerfully consider partnering with us? And so that's what I have done in South Florida. And as I look back, or as I look into this season, I'm going to be closer to 60 clubs, flipping into my 5th year. And we're not missing anything. And you would think it's a low string shoe budget, however you want to define it. But I'm telling you, I get to bless youth pastors. They're excited. They're not overburdened because they only have 5 or 6 campuses. They're part of a team. We're all on the same mission of sharing the hope of Christ across communities. And then together collectively, as our voices work and network, we're looking for the right people in the right seats to share our story and trusting God for the result. And remember how we started this. We lead with prayer. And so when I'm planning everything, God, what are we thinking here for these dinners? It's a conversation with the Lord. Hey, let's go for this, right? Because for me, I could say, no, I want to raise 10 more thousand that. But no, let's be realistic. Let's try to have solid wins out of the gate. And again, why are we doing the whole development part? Because we know that moves the needle, right? And so my ultimate goal for my region is this, is that I will fund all the ministry we're doing across 3 counties, Indian River, the Space Coast, Volusia, and that it will cost Fort Lauderdale 0 money. And that's my ultimate goal. And so far this year, this will be my first year in a development plan that I think we're going to reach that goal. Last year, we didn't have as much pressure, but we're moving across Florida. There's a lot of things happening, so it's a lot more money. So Chris is like this, hey, we're growing like this, but we've got to get the money to match the peak, right? So it's got to work. And so anyway, hey, I want to open some time just for some Q&As. And I thought, instead of me just coming and saying, hey, here's a plan to development, that I'd show you just what I'm doing to develop. And then you have to scale it in your own terms, but hopefully maybe some ideas with a director's dinner, which you probably already do, but maybe director's lunches or just a few things that you say, hey, I could do this. It won't take a lot of capacity to plan it. And as a first priority rep, you know you like to eat anyway. And so we get to go to some nice restaurant, entertain some people. But again, share the mission.
Well, always grateful for Joe and some perspective.
It is. It's good. It's very good. I like first party leadership.
What he is able to language out, what he is able to even show us on description, diagram, and spreadsheet is that, man, you can do a lot with whatever the Lord's given you.
Yeah.
And he does a great job stewarding people and resources and relationships and his time. Like he really takes the best out of each of those and gets max out of it.
Yep.
Just fun.
It is
That's
fun.
fun to watch.
Yeah. And I mean, bootstraps making it work. That's, just sitting there. He's obviously got a great system around him. South Florida's been around for almost 30 years, if not over 30 years by now. Chris and Fred and John and Luke and the team that are down there. I know I missed a whole bunch of people. Christy.
Well, you said Fred, John, and Luke. I thought you were going to start naming the disciples, but you started with Fred, so I was just lost for a minute.
There you go.
Keep going, yeah.
No, I mean, just the team that he's got down there. Yep. I mean, they set him up for success, but he used his personality and his ability to network and his spiritual gifts, really, and just built something tremendous right there that we're all learning from and growing from. And I love that about First Priority in general. Like, we are eager to learn. It's one of our core values.
Yep.
Collaborative team builders. We're not threatened by each other in any of it. We learn from each other. And how I do it is a little different than what he does it, but I learned from Joe at Align, and I love it because yeah, he does things tremendously well down there, just south of Orlando.
Well, to his credit, right, he could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Correct.
Right? He could sell a lady her own flowers out of her own garden, right? Like, he can just get her done, right? But he's as genuine as they come, and that is to his credit, right?
Humble.
You're not just talking about a guy that can get things done, but you're talking about a guy that really likes to be around people. And that, you probably give Chris a lot of credit for that too. That just is Laner and Fred, right? That's just who they've been forever. So it's fun to watch those guys that are layers of that execute, as you said, just south of Orlando in that area.
Well, and ironically enough, Joe has the architect profile. If you go into the CI stuff, where he does have that vision people side and the detail task side, and it's that architect is a unicorn there.
It is,
with a great gift mix, and I love having Joe sitting at the leadership table around us.
Agreed. Hoping that each of you got a little something out of there that you can give a shot and try out in your area, or that you can adapt or amend to make work for what you're doing in your local city and community.
As always, thanks for listening.
Thanks for putting up with Brad. Appreciate that.
Better because you and Steve Cherico are here.
Yes.
Pushing the movement forward, taking the hope of Christ to every student.
All right,
Until
Brad.
next week.
You too. You're better because they're better because you're here too, Brad.
See you later.
Thanks, everybody.